Welcome, listeners, to Off the Cuff with Namrita. Hope you all are having a wonderful morning. And I'm going to start this show with a question for all of you. How would you feel when you hear these sentences from your own family and close friends? Like, your thighs are too fat, your arms are too chubby. Should you wear that short dress? Ever try drinking lemon water in the morning? Please go on walk, see how fast you can lose your weight. Or what's wrong with you? You look like skin and bones. You should get something to eat right now. So if you got any clue from that, or you got scared early in the morning, I'll say we will be talking about body shaming, body image, and self esteem. And I'm so glad that this young woman here accepted my offer to come and talk about this issue on radio, because many people would be hesitant to talk about such issue, because it's a personal thing, I'll say. And many say, oh, what good would it do by just talking, without any professional solution there. But off the cuff is a platform about conversations that may inspire, bring comfort to some people, or even change mindsets. And even in today's show, I don't have a therapist, I don't have a mentor. We will just be talking about body shaming here. And I hope whoever's listening can connect. And I would really want a lot of other youth to reach out to me through my Facebook page, if they want to talk about certain issues. That would be wonderful. But I'd love to welcome Vaidehee Durgude. She's a sophomore at Swarthmore College and is studying political science and film and media studies. She has been a youth lead with Rewire Community for 5 years and is passionate about issues of gender justice, migrant rights, and climate justice. Vaidehees is a strong believer in the power of education, empathy, and radical self acceptance. A big shout out to Rewire here. It's a grassroots community organization doing wonderful work here in the Bay Area. And Vaidehi, delighted to have you on Off the Cuff.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for accepting my offer. So Vedahi, I'll just jump in straight away. I read somewhere that 97% of women have felt unsatisfied about their body or look at some point or the other. So have you ever had that negative thought, about your body or look, and why?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
I, yeah, I actually can't think of a single young woman that I know that hasn't gone through things like this. There's obviously like the image of the specific model body type that we see everywhere on TV, in the media, in like print photography, etc. There's this idea that this is how you have to look stylish, to look fashionable,
Hmm.
and specifically, especially in high fashion, this idea is kind of perpetuated as like just the thinnest possible version of yourself that you can be. And it's actually really interesting the way that this is kind of doubly impactful as growing up as a woman of color, when so many of these beauty standards, body type specifically, but also so many other things, like having light skin, having a certain type of
Yes.
face shape, a certain type of hair, all of this is so rooted in this idea that being white is the prettiest way that you can be. And so growing up, I had a lot of insecurities about my weight because I wasn't super thin, the fact that my body type isn't like very petite, and the fact that my skin is dark, that my hair is too thick, all of these things that you just kind of grow up carrying with you. And it's really, really interesting how as you grow up and you kind of internalize these ideas that because my hair is too thick, because I have too much upper arm hair, like upper lip hair, I am too
Mhm.
masculine. If my skin is too dark, I'm not feminine enough. As a woman specifically, growing up with these like very racialized ideas of beauty takes your womanhood away from you, and that's something that's really, really hard to hard to deal with.
Such a wonderful answer. And I think it feels to me that I've heard this from my daughter, because Indian girls have a tendency to have thicker hair and, body hair and stuff. And there was a lot of, yeah, it's hard to accept when you're young and, you're getting those messages from the media that you just talked about. And, uh, to me, you look perfect and lovely, and and I think every girl is perfect in their own way, I'll say. you know and one more thing, like, was also that, in our culture, it's very normal, it's very normal to talk about weight and, normalize body shaming. I've gone through that, and uh, w- the family doesn't understand. They think, oh, they're trying to help you, or they are very close to you, so they can say those things to you. Have you noticed that in your culture? And I'm not just saying Indian culture, it's global for women. I think most of the South East Asian countries have that. And but for you, have you had that kind of experience when you go down to visit India, or even here at the parties, or elsewhere?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've had, especially since coming back from college, I've had a lot of interactions while I walk into like a setting with family friends, and they'll turn to my mother. They won't turn to me, and they'll say, "Wow, she's gotten heavy, or she's gained weight." And it's really really interesting because it's
Mm,
such a normal thing, and it's almost considered like a motherly thing that you can do to, like, your friend's daughter. But at the end of the day, there's very little consideration of the fact that, like, hearing these things, even though I know that they come from a place of love and I know that these people really care about me, it still just it still just makes you feel uncomfortable, because even if it's not like coming from a position of, oh, I'm insecure about my weight and I feel as though I should be skinnier,
mm,
the idea that I come in and the first thing that somebody perceives about me is my body and how it's changed,
mm,
it feels very strange, because it feels very dehumanizing, right? Like, I'm a person who has my own thoughts, my feelings, I have things to share, but when I enter a room, what people notice first is the way I look has changed in a way that I don't really have control over, in a way that I wasn't really paying attention to, as
mm,
opposed to if somebody was like, "Oh, I like your new haircut. I like the way you've done your makeup. These are things that I can express about myself and that feel specific to my identity." And
mm,
the other thing about this is that weight, I think, and body type very specifically, is a type of health checking that is considered socially acceptable when we don't talk about other issues of health this way. Like, even if you were to go, "Oh, I'm worried about your weight because I'm concerned about your health," which for the most part, generally doesn't apply, because plus size people, fat people are perfectly healthy, and
healthy.
people
Mhm,
don't talk about being thin that way, even though very, like, intense thinness can also be a sign of poor health.
mm,
It's just that I would never walk up to somebody with any other sickness and make a
mm.
comment on it. I wouldn't walk up to somebody who had like a recent amputation and be like, "Wow, you've lost a leg," because that would just be so incredibly rude and
Yes.
bizarre. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is, makes us think as parents, or as aunties, or as, adults, how to approach young, adults. We are very judgmental, I'll say. I've been in the same boat, and I've done that because I've grown up listening to my, my boas, or, when I go back. Only last year when I went back, the first thing, one of my aunts said was, "Oh my God, you put on weight. What is going on?" So, and you're like, "Theek hai, we do that." But then, not necessarily it is acceptable, and we should not put that, further. To our kids, because like whether he just said, it can be brutal for your self image, because yeah, everybody is evolving and going through their own stuff. And a wonderful, wonderful answer. And I read somewhere that body image and self-esteem start in the mind, not in the mirror. Healthy body image and self-esteem are a big part of well-being, like you're saying. So and you do belong to the generation Z, I'll say, and you all are very tech savvy. And most of the interaction is online, and also due to COVID, a lot of interaction. Unfortunately, the socialization, personal socialization didn't happen. So there's a lot going on online too. And you all have a certain digital footprint, I'll say. So how do you deal with the social media right now, as a selfie culture, and uh, pressure of looking a certain way? Do you look for, validation somehow online, or how does that work in today's world? Yeah.
I think it's incredibly difficult to be online because especially places like TikTok is kind of the primary way that a lot of this stuff is conveyed now.
Mm.
You feel as though you're accessing, because it's anybody can post, so you feel like you're accessing
Oh,
like what the
okay.
majority of the world posts. But at the end of the day, the algorithm and what people support kind of
Okay.
is geared in a way that shows you the thinnest people, the most conventionally attractive people. And
Oh,
so you get trends like currently on TikTok, there's this trend where people are buying toddler t-shirts from Target and wearing them as like crop tops, which is interesting because then you'll see people posting about how they don't fit shirts built for 2-year-olds, and people will go, "Oh, it's because you're fat." And it's like, first
oh,
of all, because
really?
I'm not the size of 2-year-old does not mean anything about my weight. Like that's just not how
Ah,
anything works. But it's also then
mm,
creates this idea, that like the normal body type is a body type that can fit into a shirt made for a toddler. And
mm,
it's really, really hard sometimes to navigate that, especially because you don't really notice when these things are being fed to you, because a lot of people will go viral and they'll be like body positivity
oh,
people and profiles, but even their bodies will be like, maybe they'll be a little bit thicker, but they'll still like be curvy in the perfect way, and they'll still like
yeah.
have good skin and still have this or that. It's very, very hard to navigate that. But I think social media is also incredibly powerful because
Mm,
there are a lot of people who are like just coming forward and saying, this is what my body looks like. And, there is so much more space now for different body types and different ways of style, different ways of dressing, different
mm,
trends that aren't built for people with a very specific body type. And I think that's an incredibly positive thing because it's made all of this, like generally the information that we'd get and like the models that we'd see would all be people chosen by modeling agencies, and they would all
yeah.
pick very thin, like
Yes.
white, blonde,
Mm,
blue-eyed people. But now that social media has kind of taken over this, there's so many more types of people who can put their image online, and that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think though,
Especially the LGBTQ community, I see a lot of positive role models out there,
yeah,
and that is kind of feels good for people who are still struggling to come out, and they say, hey, if he or she or whoever they can do that, it's a positive
yeah,
thing. I feel, yeah.
it is incredibly, incredibly powerful to see people
Mm,
living people living authentically, even if you cannot access it in your like in
mm,
your home or in your community, just the
mm.
knowledge that that's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Vaidehi, such great answers. And one more thing you said was that I always felt judged by the way I looked because of my skin or my hair, or but you've grown up in a melting pot in the Bay Area, and you yourself have seen or interacted with people from the other cultures. So is there a tendency for you to judge people from other cultures too? Because we pick signs from our parents or our close relatives, and for us, we come from a place where, yeah, they're different regions and people look differently, but not like this, so we tend to judge more quickly. I'd love to know your views on that, if you judge others.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the ways this is so powerful is because we know that it harms us, we do not it's hard to grasp the fact that we also use it to harm other people. We are all part of the society that's doing this. And
Mm,
so, I was aware growing up that I didn't like the way people talked about the color of my skin, my body type, et cetera, et cetera.
mm,
But because everyone around me was talking about these things this way,
mm,
I still believed those things. I still thought that, like fairer is lovelier, like this is like this one way of looking is better.
mm,
I think it's really interesting actually that the times when my body image or like the way that I feel about the way I look has been the worst, and the times when I'm most actively trying to change is the times when I'm most judgmental to other people. So
mm,
during periods of my life where I'm really insecure about my weight, I am more constantly weight checking other people and going, oh, wow, this looks bad, this looks good. And
mm,
really like forcing myself to be comfortable with the way I look
mm.
highlights the fact that like, everybody is just a person. I think
Yes.
one of the things
Mm,
about like the body positivity movement or just the recent rise in conversations about this that I found the most striking is this idea of body neutrality, which kind of arose as like this resistance to the body positivity movement, because the idea of body positivity is,
oh,
everybody is beautiful, like
ah,
everybody looks good. And body neutrality I think is really, really interesting because the idea is that sure, beauty is subjective, like different people are attracted to different people, all of
mm,
this is true. But even if it weren't true, my body does not have to be beautiful. Like even if my body were just if there was some sort of objective ugly, even if my body were that, it doesn't matter because my body exists to help me eat, to help me sleep, to help me breathe. It does not exist to be attractive, right? There's
Completely.
just there is no need for it to be anything. And so this idea that we have where we frame loving yourself as believing that you are beautiful, I think is kind of reductive because I shouldn't have to believe that I am beautiful
Oh,
to see myself as someone who is worthy and intelligent and deserves respect.
wow. How old are you, Vaidehee?
I'm
I'm like
19.
so amazed just listening to you. I mean, it's just wonderful the way young kids think. And see, I just learned so much. So that's so great. In the end, Vaidehee, I'll just ask that especially, do you think boys have it easy as far as fitting in a certain body image? Or do you think they struggle too? Especially South Asian Indian boys are stereotyped as nerdy or bad in sports, or only in the robotics. And what about their body image? Do you think they have it hard?
I think that's really, really interesting because people don't talk about boys' body image very much at all, you know? And I think part of that's because
Mm.
men do have a certain, men do have privilege in the fact that
Mhm.
they, that their attractiveness is less tied directly to their respectability, right? Like women have to be pretty enough to be respected, but not too pretty because then all you are is pretty and people won't think about what you think or say anymore, you know? Like if a girl is too pretty on TV, all of a sudden she becomes the shallow, mean girl. But if she's not pretty, then she's just ugly. I think men have that problem less because
Mm.
ugly men, whatever it means to be ugly, you know, like a
Okay.
man who is conventionally unattractive is still considered somebody who can be smart
Okay.
and respectable.
Okay. Mm.
However, people, because of this idea that like men, because of this like kind of removal from a man's intelligence to like his beauty, we kind of don't talk about men's body image at all. And it's incredibly destructive in a lot of ways because we like, because men are told through like a lot of these toxic masculinity models that like you can't cry, you can't be insecure, you can't have this range of emotions. And
Absolutely.
a lot of the ways that we a lot of the ways that we talk about mental health is kind of geared towards women. When we talk about like eating disorders, we're thinking about women. When we talk about depression, we're thinking about like sad women, you know,
Yeah.
because men are so like so forced out of a like emotional communication and conversations about mental health. All of these things are directly tied to body image, right?
Mm.
So men just don't get to talk about this, and especially South Asian boys, when
They should.
they haven't kind of had like, I think it's so normalized for people to talk about Indian boys or brown boys as just unattractive, you know. And Indian girls, I think, are one of the biggest perpetrators of this. You know, other races, if they talk about Indian people like that, it's like, hey, that's a little racist. But Indian girls, if we do it, like it's just so normal. Where people are like, ugh, I hate it when brown boys do this. And there's a lot of toxic aspects, obviously, about the way Indian teenage boys are raised,
Absolutely.
but there is also just this idea that they are for some reason less attractive. You know, that they don't shower, that they're like not independent, that they like are all
Oh,
like, and it's just so harmful because we do
it
it
is.
to each other, and it's something that we could make so much progress with if we just fixed it within our community.
Wow. I'm getting a very different perspective from you, because you're so right. Yeah, and Indian girls putting the boys down sometimes because they feel, again, muscular, and white boys or
Yeah.
blonde hair are the way to go. And see, what I'm saying is, from I am from an era, being raised 40 to plus years ago, but certain norms are still going on the same. We had those arranged marriages, those what you call matrimonial ads, where the men only had to say, oh, he earns very well, his salary is huge. But
Hmm.
when you had to read the lines, where what kind of girl is needed, they'll say beautiful, shy, fair, subdued, and all that. So there were like 100 things, but men didn't really had to fit in. If they had to earn a good salary and be smart enough a little bit. So I
Yeah.
don't know, I just hope, but the way you are talking, and I'm so happy to hear you thinking that way. And we have to also, I think, as parents, help the boys to grow a certain way, in a different way, and maybe think differently about the boys, not just the girls too, as far as body
Yeah.
image
And I
goes.
think with men, Yeah. And I think with men's body image, like a lot of these body positivity movements that have kind of circulated in the past like 20 years are so focused on women's body image. You know, there's so many
Very
like
true.
plus sized female models now, and obviously there still aren't enough. Like there needs to be more representation, there needs to be more diverse representation.
Yes.
But I can't think of an equivalent of that happening for men. You know, like men also have to look at like images like Chris Hemsworth, who like spent so much time like
Yes.
building his body till like it was like perfectly sculpted, or like all these male actors who like fit these like ridiculous standards of like
Yes.
bodybuilding and
Yeah.
weightlifting and just like having a six pack abs and like and it's insane because men so rarely get
It's
counter examples of
genetics
that.
and where you come from. You are not
Yeah.
meant to be looking that way. So accept, like, again, I don't want to go to again the positive, but accept and be comfortable. I will say, that's where you evolve. uh, yeah, that's the only thing, but there's a lot of things, I think, that go into making I think accepting yourself. So in the end, I'll just say lastly, what steps do you take to keep a healthy self image? Anything that you'd like to just throw in at the last?
I think, well, you know, there's some like logistical things. You know, if I'm following someone on like Instagram or TikTok who like I look at their body and it makes me feel bad about my body, I unfollow them. You know, like a lot of these like negative influences,
Yeah.
personally, just in your life, you have to kind of cut them out. I think
Mm.
also learning more about the way that people talk about beauty and how that is so directly tied to race, like these ideas of
Race.
this, like even like we don't often talk about body type as a racialized thing, but the idea of this like perfect thin, like thin waist, like this specific frame is also this idea that's kind of linked to whiteness, right? Like a lot of people of color ethnically do not have that natural like
Oh,
but like
yes.
you know, it's the way that like black women and like curviness has been kind of stigmatized because of the way that's associated with blackness. The same thing has happened with so many other races, and the idea and learning about the way that even talking about body type is racialized has helped me a lot, because now when I look at my body and I look at the way that my body type is just genetically different from a lot of the white models I'll see on in the media,
Absolutely. Yeah.
loving my body also feels in a way like reclaiming my heritage, or you know, loving the Indian part of me, and that is something that's really really helpful for me because it's something that I'm proud of. You know, I'm proud to be Indian, I'm proud of my mothers and my grandma, my mother singular, and my grandmothers,
Mm.
etc etc, and
Mm.
this is something that I got from them, and that makes it really really special. You know, this body type has endured thousands of years, and that's really really important to me. And so yeah,
Mm.
it's I think it's just learning more about it and taking like very like measurable steps, like unfollowing people, wearing things that I want to wear, but I always tell myself, oh, you know, I should wear this when I'm skinnier, when I look better, or whatever. Just wearing it
Mm.
anyway. All of these steps, like just really kind of taking a step
Liberating.
to
Yes.
into into the way I want to see myself.
Mm. So wonderful. And I think, yeah, your thoughts resonate with me, especially about, accepting your roots and where you come from. If you can do that, I think you will be good. It gives you that stability and rest, some good days and bad days. And you're so young, but it's so wonderful to talk to you, Vedahi. Like I'm saying, such a evolved soul. And I wish you the very best for your college. And I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful, wonderful future ahead. Wishing you the best. And thank you so much for joining and talking, off the cuff about body shaming. So take care,
Thank you
Vedahi,
for having
and
me.
all the best. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shosha is a creative Indian restaurant located in the heart of Silicon Valley. Shosha is a woman-owned business that serves traditional Indian flavors assimilated with molecular gastronomy techniques. The best Indian bar with happy hours in the Bay Area serves handcrafted drinks inspired by flavors from India with modern craft cocktails that are presented in unique ways. Shosha is a modern take on traditional Indian cuisine. We specialize in corporate luncheon, anniversary celebrations, birthday parties, and catering. Do check us out for a memorable modern Indian dining experience. Shosha is located at 141 South Murphy Avenue in Sunnyvale, California.